I think about where this defense, where this team in general is going, and they've had additions, throughout the offseason. I mentioned a bunch of the guys, but they've also had some subtractions, right? We're going to get to what the impact of losing Fletcher Cox means for guys like Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter, but I want to get your perspective on the loss of Haason Reddick. Obviously, he's been the most productive player for the Philadelphia Eagles over the past 2 years, but I want to get your unfiltered breakdown or perspective when it comes to Haason Reddick. Why things didn't work out in Philadelphia? Did they make the right decision moving on from him? Should they have paid him? What's your overall opinion about how that situation played itself out?
Wow, there's so much to unpack there because it wasn't just a money move. You got to go back to when Matt Patricia took over and they went to the 5-man line damn near exclusively. And I forget what game it was, but they dropped Haason Reddick 10 times in that game. 10 times they dropped him. And we wasn't getting nowhere near the quarterback. But you took your best pass rusher and you said, we're going to drop you to the flat on passing down. Okay. And later on that week, someone in the media asked him about dropping that many times in a game. Have you ever done it that many times in a game? And Haason looked at the dude. He said, hey, listen, whatever they want me to do upstairs, that's what I'll do. See, people don't know how to read between the lines of what players say sometimes. But because I've been in that locker room, because I've been around these coaches and I've been around these organizations long enough, I know what to listen and look for, okay? What Haason Reddick was saying is that Howie and Jeffrey made this decision to move to Matt Patricia. If Matt Patricia wants me to drop 10 times in a game, that's what I'll do. And if you don't think that didn't chap their ass, that they wasn't upset about the fact that now, they knew what he was saying. I knew what he was saying. But even some people in the media didn't really understand what he was saying. That was the beginning of the end, because that's how petty the Eagles brass can be sometimes. It's you either on our side or you're against us.
Wow.
And when he said that, he was declaring that this decision was made from upstairs. Even though they pushed Nick Sirianni out there and make it seem like it was his decision. Nick Sirianni ain't making no damn decisions like that. That decision came from Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie. Okay? And Haason was not happy with that move. And in the most subtle way that he thought that he could express it, he said it. And that cut them. Okay? So when he got to the offseason and he was like, hey, I got 1 year left on my deal, let's talk about an extension. My numbers are right up there with some of the best pass rushers in the league, and I'm severely underpaid. Okay. I need $25 million. Now, I don't know if that's the number. I'm just, for conversation's sake. You understand what I'm saying? Because that's what Myles Garrett is making, $25 million a year. Okay. So Haason was what he was saying, because when it came out, then he came back and said, hey, listen, I didn't say I wanted to be traded. They called my agent and said, you got permission to seek a trade. I want to finish my career right here. I'm home. Right. My folks is right across the Delaware River. I don't want to go nowhere. What he was saying was, bring me up. Make me comparable. And you mean to tell me that the Eagles couldn't have come up with $4 or $5 more million to make that happen?
What do you think their offer was? What do you think they were trying to give him? Because he was making 15 per season at the time. What do you think was a number that they were comfortable with?
I don't even think there was an offer. Like I said, between what he said and the outward ask for the money, that was enough for them to say, it's time to move on. You're going to be 30 this year. Okay? That was enough,
right? And then 31 when the new contract takes effect.
That was...
And you're undersized.
That was... those things were the contributing factors, okay? Because you can't tell me the way that Howie Roseman finagles this salary cap better than any GM in the National Football League, that they could not have figured out a way to extend him a year, maybe 2 years, this year and a 2-year extension, that they couldn't have figured out a way with the salary cap going up damn near $30 million every year, that they couldn't have figured out a way to give him some money, a compromise, okay? If Myles Garrett is making 25 and you ask for 25, the art of negotiation says you never go up, you always go down, okay? So he might have been starting at 25, and again, I'm just speculating.
Right.
If he starts at 25, he knows that he's probably going to fall somewhere around 19, 21, okay? You mean to tell me with him already sitting there at 15 that they couldn't have come to a compromise? Okay, to me, is a massive mistake. And yeah, they turn around and they go and they grab this Bryce Huff kid. But when people don't realize, Bryce Huff only played 47% of the plays last year for the New York Jets.
42 to be exact, 42%.
Okay.
So that's even worse.
I stand corrected.
Yeah.
Okay. Haason Reddick was damn near on the field every snap for the Eagles last year. Okay. So now you got a 42% guy that's, you're speculating that he's going to come in and be able to do for you what he did over there. And you let a guy who's proven to you over the last 2 years that he can get you 12 plus sacks every single year, guaranteed.
With the heavy workload.
Yes, with a heavy workload. Okay. So you're willing to let that guy walk out, proven productivity for a guy that you're projecting that he might do exactly what he did for you that he did for the New York Jets. Okay. Massive mistake. You let your best defensive player, your fastest defensive player, and your most aggressive defensive player walk out of the building over $5 to $6 million. You couldn't have figured that out. So
those were go ahead.
So I just say, you know, his departure, in my opinion, is much grander than just the money. It wasn't just the money. It's all of those things, you know, in my opinion, that I just, you know, expounded upon that brought the end of him being in Philadelphia.
You know, I really couldn't agree with you more. I mean, I made it very clear, you know, on my show that the Eagles are going to miss him. You know, you it's not easy to just replace that kind of production. But I'll take it a step further, right?
Listen, he was good against the run. There were times while he was here that he was very good against the run,
especially this season. And the game I noticed the most was that Miami game.
Yes, he made he had a lot of TFLs in that game, like 2 or 3 TFLs in that one game. Okay, now, yeah, does he want to rush the passer? Yeah. Did he get up the field sometimes too much, even on rundowns? Yeah. That's coaching, man. You know, you got to coach a guy how to read the room and how to read the situation. You know, they ain't throwing on every first down. The offensive tackle is giving you tells. The tight end is giving you tells. Okay. But when you're not getting the numbers and that conversation about, oh, the Eagles can't get to the quarterback. And I told everybody at the beginning of the year, I said, listen, do not expect for the Eagles to post 70 plus sacks again this year. Right. That's an anomaly. I played on one of the most dominant defensive fronts, you know, in the era that I played football. And we amassed 68 one time. Okay. They actually broke our record. Okay. So when you got a Hall of Famer like Reggie White, you got a guy like Clyde Simmons with well over 120 something sacks in his career, Jerome Brown damn near unblockable, and the combination of Mike Pitts and Mike Golick, you know, rushing, and you not posting those types of numbers? Come on, man. I said that's an anomaly. That's like Nick Foles throwing 27 touchdowns and 2 interceptions in a season. It'll never happen again. Okay. Right. So don't get overhyped on that. You know, you got a plan that was a special year and a special occasion. For you to come into this year and think that it was going to be the same, you know, you're setting yourself up for failure.
The funny thing about the Haason Reddick situation is that we can move off of him, because I know your time is valuable, and I got a few more things I want to run by before I let you go. Again, I appreciate you for locking in. You guys, you're locked in on Chalk It Up Sports, where no matter if we win or if we lose, we just got to charge it to the game. Make sure you guys smash that like button. I'm joined by none other than the Eagles Hall of Famer himself, Seth Joyner. Seth, you know, when it comes to Haason Reddick, and this is my last point I make about him, the Eagles kind of show their hand very early what their plans were for Haason Reddick, right? The year after he had one of his best seasons of his career, they went and drafted. And again, I want to make sure I preface this correctly. They made a handful of moves that made it clear to you, the fans, everyone, that he was a rental. Some people may have ignored it, but in my opinion, I feel like they made a handful of moves that declared that he was a rental. The first move, drafting Nolan Smith. He's a carbon copy of Haason Reddick from top to bottom, physically, the build, the height, the weight, just everything. On top of that, you bring back BG. So you paid BG. So you drafted Nolan. You paid BG, right? You paid Bryce Huff, the guy that you're hoping that can replace Haason Reddick's production. And then you restructured and gave Josh Sweat a bunch of money up front. Those moves, to me, told me exactly where their focus was when it came to the allocation of the resources.
I'm going to disagree with you on one point.
Okay.
Where Nolan Smith fell to them at 32, they saw tremendous value. Mm-hmm. And you had to begin to start thinking about the exit of BG. And you knew that Derek Barnett wasn't going to give you a damn thing. And all of a sudden he went down to the Texans and just found new life,
Coaching.
Yeah. So that was an area of need, right, more so than I thought. It was an area of them, the exit plan for Haason. I still contend that the things that Haason said at the end of last year, in the midst of, the most dramatic free fall in National Football defensive history, and the ask for an extension is what brought about, his exit. It was a position of need. The only reason you bring Derek Barnett back after, what he did the previous year is because you needed depth. And what was he giving you? 5-6 snaps a game and absolutely no production. They needed depth there. So when you look at this year, you got, BG is on his last leg. You got Josh Sweat. You never know with that knee, when the wheels could fall off on that, so you got to have an insurance plan as far as, that defensive end / edge rusher position is concerned. So there is some merit to what you say. I just don't believe that, that this was the exit plan. I think because you got to go back to Denard Avery too, though. Okay, when they had Denard Avery, a lot of the 5-man drops, they couldn't get that done. Okay, so they had Sweat, BG, Derek Barnett, Devon Avery. Okay, so when they went to their 5-man front, they had no guy on the outside to drop. So they were dropping BG every once in a while. He looked like a fish out of water. They drop Josh Sweat every once in a while, and he looked equally like a fish out of water. No ability to move, no athleticism, no ability to open their hips. So I think that they knew that the 5-man front is what they were going to have to live in order to be able to get the run under control. But in order to do that, you're going to have to mix up your coverages. So one of those guys is going to have to drop. Nolan Smith did some dropping and played off the ball some at Alabama. So he was kind of a tool that they could use. And then I said to myself, man, because I remember when they drafted him, I was like, what a hell of a draft pick. I said, can you imagine this NASCAR package? Okay. When you want to go either 4-man or 5-man, you go 4-man. You got Fletcher, Jalen Carter, Josh Sweat, Haason Reddick. Okay. Or you can take Josh Sweat out and put Nolan Smith in. When you go your 5-man NASCAR, you got Nolan Smith on one side, Haason Reddick on the other. Kick BG down to a 3. You got Fletcher and you got Jalen Carter. Jalen Carter on the nose. You can't block that in an obvious passing situation. It's damn near impossible. So I got excited about that. I got excited about them, getting creative with Nolan last year. Line him up as the fifth guy. Kick your defensive end out into a little bit of a wide five, okay? Now you can bring Nolan off the ball and run all kind of rush games with him and drop somebody on the other side. There were so many different things, so many creative things that they could do with Nolan Smith that I thought that it was just where he fell to them at 35. I don't think that no one expected for him to be there. And quite honestly, at 32 rather. And at 32, he was probably the best available player at that time. So they were in a position where they, hey, we got the big defensive tackle. My God, we got the number one edge rusher. We got to go get him. And then he gets here and his shoulder's all jacked up.
Yeah, and to your point, I mean, I also feel like they didn't do enough to get him on the field either, and that speaks to the lack of creativity that was on the defense.
Well, but you also got it. Sometimes the player has a role to play in that too.
Mm.
Consider, okay, maybe he wasn't studying the playbook. Maybe they didn't trust him enough that they could actually put him on the field.
Wow.
Because listen, when you have these drop scenarios with a guy like that in your 5-man line, you can't have him rushing when he's supposed to be dropping. Now you got a zone that's wide open over here in the flat.
Right.
So if a coach can't trust the player, coach ain't gonna put your ass on the field, man. I've seen that too many times. I've been there. The coach can't trust you, they will not play you.